That's 8 straight wins for your St. Louis Cardinals. They sweep the Nationals at Nationals Park. They are 22-19 and one game back from the Chicago Cubs for first place in the National League Central. Sure, why not? Welcome back to Cardinal Territory. Bernie, what a weekend, what a week, really, for these Redbirds.
Remember the first game in Cincinnati, I think they lost that one pretty bad. I can't remember, but they were really bad at that time. The Cardinals, I was looking this up tonight. At that point they had where were they? They were like, they had that like the 25th best record in the majors, right? And so since that doubleheader, they're beginning with that doubleheader. They're 10-2. They have the best record in the majors since April 30th. Now, small sample and all that, but it's a pretty quick, pretty dramatic turnaround.
It seems that way. Life comes at you fast, and usually we're talking about it the other way around. Usually it's like a very, very strong, quick collapse. But I think we're just seeing such a strong brand of Cardinals baseball right now. And was talking with Jeff Jones of the Bellevue News Democrat in Washington, in D.C. today. And we made this discussion where I feel like this team's floor is higher than maybe we thought and the general consensus thought. And we're seeing what happened really. I mean, everything's been great. The defense has been great. The offense has been consistent. The starting pitching has been sneakily very good. The only change they made in terms of operations was tweaking some bullpen roles, but that's really helped. We'll get into the relievers and all of that later in the show. I just think you're seeing a strong brand of Cardinals baseball. And are they going to go out and rip off 17 wins again? No, probably not. But all of a sudden, we're 6 weeks into the season, officially at the quarter mark of the year. And I think everyone's feeling a little bit more excited about baseball again. I'll read this quote from Nolan Arenado post-game. This is what he said, and I feel like you can relate to it if you're a Cardinals fan. Talked to Nolan after his 2-run homer today. He said, "We're excited to come to the ballpark. First time in a couple years where it feels like we're coming to the ballpark ready to win a ball game instead of coming to the ballpark hoping for something good to happen. It's a different vibe for sure." And I feel that. Cardinals, when they get to the clubhouse and they play a game, do you feel, Bernie, like, oh, they have a chance to win this game right now, and we're not hoping that everything goes right, but even if something doesn't go right, they can bounce back and figure it out and play a competitive baseball game.
Yeah, all parts of their team are working really well. I know we're going to get into bullpen later, so thanks for reminding me of that. But this transformation of the bullpen since they sent Ryan Fernandez down has been remarkable. And I'm not blaming him. There are a lot of reasons, but that was the turning point, and it just continues to get better and better and better. But anyway, starting pitching's been really good. I don't believe that the Cardinals offense actually gets enough credit, because people will zero in on those times where they scored one run or no runs, and they did have a few of those. But actually, I was looking this up today, and I won't go into the details. I'll just give you the summation. The Cardinals actually, when it comes to low scoring outputs, they've actually, like when they score 3 runs or less, they're actually one of the best teams in baseball at avoiding that. And they also one of the best offenses in baseball in terms of scoring 5+ runs. So, but yet, people will say, well, they don't have enough power. And that's based on home runs. I get it. They're down there on home runs, but they went in today tied for first in the majors in doubles. Doubles are good. They're very, very good. And so I don't want to hear that they don't have power. They don't have enough home run power, but they're slashing doubles all over the place, And so anyway, yeah, even if I was looking for something negative, I couldn't find it. And I'm not looking for anything negative. I'm enjoying this turnaround. And I know, and there'll be some people that can't enjoy the success, even though they're Cardinals fans, and they'll be downgrading it because of the competition. Well, the Nationals suck. The Pirates suck. Well, this team sucks. It's like, give me a break. You either win or you don't. You don't get to draw up your own schedule. And, they're now 4-0-1 in their last five series. And when they went into Cincinnati, the Reds were hot. I don't think the Cardinals have to apologize for, winning, 2 out of 3 from the Mets instead of all 3. Right.
Right. Exactly.
I don't think they have to apologize for beating Paul Skeens again. Right. So just, if you're a fan, enjoy it. We don't know how long this will last, but enjoy it. That would be my recommendation. Not that anybody asked for my advice.
Well, I like what you said about the offense, and I think you might have had like are you editing my story right now or something? Because I talk about the doubles being more of an indicator that there is power. Yes, the home runs are down. Sure, I get it, and you want to see more thump. But just because the home runs are down doesn't mean the slug is down. And those 82 doubles tied with the Red Sox that lead baseball, that's a sign that the slug is there. I'll throw some more offensive stats at you, Bernie.
Isn't that amazing? We're the same wavelength on this.
No, oh my gosh! It's
And
our
we did not trade notes before the show. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
We never do. Bernie and I are very much. We'll just show up and see what happens. So in the offense, in this 8-game winning streak, they've scored 44 runs. But what stood out to me really has been the way that they're scoring. Let's look at some things that the Cardinals are doing really well. They, coming into today, have a team batting average of 261. It's the 4th highest average in baseball. The 3 teams above them, the Padres, the Dodgers, the Yankees. So yeah, good company to be in. What I also thought was interesting was that they are the 3rd highest in on-base percentage. They're tied with the Phillies right now. That might have gone up because the Phillies are still playing right now, but they are top 3, okay? So they're getting on base and they're hitting for average. And they are much, much better with runners in scoring position now. And we know how that was a problem last year. When you're looking at where they are in runners in scoring position, 6th best, 787 OPS with runners in scoring position in baseball. So they're finding ways to cash in, get on base, and they're doing it differently. Some days it's the homers, 3 today. Some days it's manufacturing runs and being smart on the bases. It's just, I think it's a much better offense than we're talking about, or maybe from a national standpoint, and it's doing a very good job of keeping the Cardinals in games. And the ironic part is this series, they didn't really have to because their pitching was lights out, Bernie. I mean, Eric Fetty, complete game shutout. Andre Palante twirled a gem, flirting with a shutout bit of his own. Miles Miklasz, I thought, threw the ball really well today. Totally understand why he was lifted with 69 pitches. That lefty lane is tough, and that's why you have Steven Matz. Again, We'll get to the bullpen, but a lot to like about this Cardinals team right now. And I agree with you. Enjoy it because we don't know how long this is going to last, if this is sustainable. We don't know. But I do know we're all feeling a lot better about the club than we were maybe 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and let's go back to last year if we could. Through 41 games last year, that club was 17-24. It was a 415 winning percentage. This year, through 41 games, they're 22-19. They have a 537 winning percentage. And this is a team that you can answer this better than I can because I always forget the number unless I have it like pinned on my laptop. What did they slash from the payroll? Like 30, 35 million, something like that from last year? Yeah. Like
I think it's right around
40 million. So they cut 40 million. They declared, it's the year of the reset. It's the year of the runway. It's the year of the transition, right? And they're not even, let's face it, they haven't gotten much from Gorman or Walker, and Ivan Herrera, missed 30 games. I think it was 30 games. He's back and he looks great. And yet they're outperforming in terms of where they were last year. And, last year's starting rotation in 2024 was certainly reinforced by signing Sonny Gray and Lance Lynn and Kyle Gibson, right? But this rotation, which was kind of pieced together, not out in any kind of desperation, we have nothing else type of thing. They gave it great opportunity to Liberatore. They stuck with Palante. Sonny Gray's good. Michaelis has gotten really, really good.
Don't say that too loud. People won't like to hear it.
By his standards, he's been good. And, Fetty, I understand why he was so great the other night. I wish we would see that more often, but it's not like Fetty's like this reprehensible starter. He's solid
quite
enough.
Serviceable. He's fine.
So this rotation is outperforming last year's rotation, even though last year's rotation was supported by all of that spending to sign 3 veteran starting pitchers. So welcome to the Twilight Zone, everyone. Right. See, I'm old, so I can reference to the Twilight Zone. People are like, what? Anyway.
I'm in Twilight Zone. I got that one.
Okay, good.
See, we're in sync today. Bernie, I think it's a great point. I think when you're looking at the Cardinals right now and why this team is, I think, more fun to watch than years prior is a little bit because the expectations have been lowered, right? Let's acknowledge that. But because we're seeing players start to develop and really take off. And when you're across the board from the rotation to the bullpen, you're looking at what Brendan Donovan and Victor Scott II are doing. They're carrying that team offensively. I just think it makes for a really entertaining product. So I'll dive into a little bit more about what made
Right.
the Cardinals so good lately, especially over the National Series. But first, a quick message from our friends at Car Gurus.
It is complicated enough to figure out what type of car you want, but when it comes to pricing and best time to buy and all of that information that you're looking for, Car Gurus is the only destination that you should be thinking about, Kratz. Why?
Because I don't have to question what the price is. It's going to be there. If the price changes and comes down to where I want it to be, bang, I get a notification. Car Gurus is giving it to me straight, and this is how I want to purchase a car. Not fast. I just want to know what's going on.
With over 4 million listings, Car Gurus has more car listings than any other major online automotive marketplace in the US. So you can find the best deal, and it's no wonder SimilarWeb estimated traffic data shows Car Gurus is the #1 most visited car shopping site. So you can buy or sell your next car today with Car Gurus at cargurus.com. Go to cargurus.com to make sure your big deal is the best deal. That's CARGURUS.com, cargurus.com.
All right, more pitching stats for you. But first, Bernie, that's maybe the best. You've had some great hats. I really like that one.
I couldn't resist buying that one.
It's good.
I love it. I mean, very, very briefly. I mean, one of the great honors and pleasures of my life was becoming friends with Stan Musial. He liked me because I was Polish, and so he would always say, "Hey, there's my Polish cousin." And so yeah. So I've always wondered why there weren't like Stan the Man caps out there, right? And I found one, Arch Apparel in St. Louis. Give them a plug.
I love Arch Apparel. I think
Yeah.
it's great. Their founder Aaron, great dude. It's great stuff out there. So now I know where to get the hat.
This is a wonderful hat, so I'm happy. I want everyone to get one who loves Stan the Man in the Card. And by the way, I'm not receiving any commission for saying that. I just think it's a really great hat, and a really great local company's putting it out.
We love supporting local St. Louis businesses.
Sure we do. No, we do, absolutely.
And
who else can we plug? No,
what the Cardinals like? They like when their starting pitching staff supports them. So here's some from the last turn through the rotation. I don't know why I forgot the phrase. The last turn through the rotation, Cardinals starting pitchers have combined for 40 and 2/3 innings, and they've allowed just 7 earned runs. That's going to play, obviously. But Bernie, and I'm not sure if Cardinals fans realize this, so let me enlighten you. St. Louis starters have recorded the most innings in the National League. They've recorded 225 and 2/3 innings, and that's the 3rd most in baseball. Only the Red Sox and the Royals have recorded more. And having a rotation that provides length is important, right? But what's more important is the quality of those innings. And we are seeing some lights out quality from Cardinal starting pitchers, and it's allowed the segue and to give more breathing room to a bullpen that's still searching for roles. And talking to Ollie Marmol after today, I think we're safe to say the bullpen over the last 10 days or so, really, really good. And I asked him what the change was and if he's seen some correlation between the rotation and the bullpen. And he said, I think guys are just kind of claiming their roles now. Roles are becoming more defined in that bullpen. Obviously, you have Brian Helsley in the 9th, and you had Phil Maton coming in, but Kyle Leahy has really seized his opportunity. Jojo Romero is slowly looking back like his normal self, his usual self. And I really like what we've seen out of Steven Matz. And the results, I'll just read you this one. I'm just reading stats out of my story, which will be up very shortly. The results, Cardinals bullpen dating back to the first game that they won. So that was the first game of the doubleheader against the Mets last week. They have combined to allow just 2 earned runs in 20 innings. That's an 0.90 ERA. So very well pitched club. Are we ready to apologize to Dusty Blake yet? Maybe not. But I just really like what the Cardinals pitching staff is doing in general.
Right. And there's always a little bit of an underlying vulnerability. And by the way, I'm not now being a hypocrite and doing something that I told other people they shouldn't do. And I just enjoy it. I enjoy watching these guys pitch. But I also know it's still not there, other than Liberatore and Sonny Gray, even Ryan Helsley's strikeout rate's down. This isn't a team that's their pitching is not going to thrive because they can overpower hitters. But they're smart. They make good pitches. They have an excellent defense behind them. So for them to have a high ground ball rates actually works out well because those fellows in the outfield too, they get to most stuff. It's just a great defense. And the other thing is that the Cardinals pitchers, all of them, but more so with the starters, they keep the ball in the ballpark too. And that's even happened on the road. They keep the ball in the yard, and that's a big deal. Remember Sonny Gray last year with bombs away all the time, and it was an outlier season, but it was still kind of disturbing to see that, right? But they're doing a much better job as a group of keeping the ball in the yard, not letting it get lost over the fence there, like we all did. We would play, I would throw a ball over the fence by mistake when I was a kid, and my nasty grouchy neighbor would take the ball and keep it. So anyway, I know, right? So until I became Big Bernie and said, "Don't you ever do that again, or I'm coming over that fence." Anyway,
let's pick up for ourselves.
So but no, they keep the ball in the yard, and that's really, really important. And in that regard, they're winning games because we talked about it a minute ago, and I apologize for coming back to it, but it's relevant. The Cardinals may not be the greatest home run hitting team on offense, but that's kind of neutralized because they prevent home runs really well, right? So yes. we're talking about home runs being a huge part of the game. Both pitchers giving them up, hitters hitting them. The Cardinals are actually coming out okay in that.
Bernie, the reason I started laughing when you started discussing your breakdown of the rotation is because that is, again, exactly what I referenced in this series recap. One of my lines is the Cardinals rotation is not going to overpower opponents with velo and strikeout stuff, right? And then here you are saying the exact same thing, and I referenced the home run rate. They have allowed the third fewest homers in baseball. We are on it today.
It's unbelievable. And I hope people believe this. There was no pre-show meeting about, I got this stat, I got that stat. No,
I couldn't even bother to show up on the time that we agreed to. So clearly we're not far behind.
No, but I can't wait to read the story because I know you're spot on. You're on the money with it because we're thinking the same way, and we both.
Yes, I feel better about it now. So I feel validated.
Yeah, no, you should feel great about everything. You're right. So I know we're going to get to this. You had a great story Friday too about John Mozeliak.
Let's segue right to it. Runway versus results. What does Mr. John Mozeliak think? I talked to Mo last week in St. Louis about this very question. Can the Cardinals balance runway and results at the same time? If this story is available up on The Athletic, I encourage you to read it if you feel so inclined, because I think Mo did a very nice job of being candid and honest about the situation. And if you read his answers without the bias or your predisposed feelings about him, which I know is hard, I get it, and you really take into consideration what he's saying, you're getting a lot of answers about what the Cardinals want to do here. We all want to know, what are they going to do at the trade deadline? Are they going to sell? Who are they going to trade? We're going to take the next 6 weeks to find out before they really have to make a decision. So there's lots of stuff from Mo in this story. But one thing that he said was they're still straddling the fence of can they do both? Can they present enough opportunity and develop players and still win? And he says, there might be mid-June, early July where they could have to make a decision. But right now they don't have to. They can still try to do both because it is working. And I don't disagree. If you can accomplish your primary objective of developing your next core, and that is also translating to wins, one, your core is probably a little bit better than you thought it was going to be. And this rebuild, reset, whatever is not going to take as long. So that's a win. But also, isn't that what you want as a baseball club? As long as the wins don't deter from the actual number one goal, I'm on board with this. Who doesn't want their baseball team to win games? Come on.
No, I'm with you, and it's actually working out better than I thought it would. And obviously, this big dramatic 8-game winning streak, and also 10-2 in the last 12 games, that has a lot to do with it. And we figured, hey, they would get hot sometime, or, all teams get hot. Well, maybe not the White Sox and the Rockies, but all teams mostly get hot sometime. But no, they're really not. Look, we can look at examples of where they've held some younger guys back. I know that our viewers and your readers at The Athletic, my readers at, sportshubstl.com, will say, well, what about Sajasi? They held him back. He should be up here. Okay.
What about McGreevy? Yeah, I hear you. I get it.
Right. And so, and we're all on the whole Michael McGreevy thing. I'm almost borderline cuckoo over that. But I got to say, at this point, right now, especially after the way Palante pitched over the weekend, because I was a little he might need a tune-up down in Memphis. Like, is there anyone that's pitching so poorly that you would completely rearrange everything? What are you going to do? Put Fetty in the bullpen? You're going to try to send him to the minors?
Right.
I mean,
Nothing
it's
makes
just,
sense.
the rotation, to your point, during this 10-2 stretch that they're in, this rotation has there's a starting pitcher ERA at 2.75. So what, you want to rip that up now and to make room for McGreevy? And I'm not being a hypocrite. I want to see McGreevy up here. I think he will be this year. But things are going so well that I'm sort of disciplining myself not to growl about a lot of things when everything is going really well at this point. There's a time to growl about stuff. This isn't the time, but yeah, we could point to different guys here and there. So, well, he should have more of an opportunity, but look at who the people they've given opportunities to. Breakout starting pitcher of the year. I think Matthew Liberatore. He's one of the most effective starters in Major League Baseball because of his strikeout walk ratio, because he doesn't allow home runs. He's also ninth, and I think he's not seventh. Yeah, he's seventh among starting pitchers in fielding independent ERA. And well, what's the difference? Well, because the things he can control for in terms of, good strikeout rate, very low walk rate, very low home run rate, that's why it's fielding independent. That tells you how exactly he's pitching, where, he doesn't necessarily need a great defense behind him. So, and then Victor Scott II, he has been absolutely terrific in every single way. And even when he slows down for a few days, you think, oh, well, maybe it's kind of going to turn. And no, it doesn't. He's relentless. And so think about Liberatore and think about Scott, like where they are as we record this on May 11th. Think about what they've done. They're runway guys if we've ever seen runway guys, right?
Yeah.
So anyway, I know you have more to say about this, but I just wanted to kind of throw my hat in there. Because there's always going to be stuff we can fuss about, but now is not the time. The only thing I'll probably fuss about is if they don't commit to Herrera as a DH, but that's another topic for another day.
Yeah, we did ask Ollie Marmol today if Herrera was going to catch, and he said yes. And then I said when, and he said he will catch. So maybe they're in the process of that. But Bernie, I do like what you're saying. Look, in this transition season, they were always going to be blocked a little bit once the Nolan trade didn't go through. And I hear you. If you want Thomas JC up on the club, or if this is a youth movement, why isn't McGreevy in here? I hear you, and they're valid questions. And to be quite honest and candid, both Ollie and Mo would love to have McGreevy up here. They've said it, but there's not a space for him that makes sense. At some point, there will be, whether that's injury, whether it's underperformance, there will be, and we'll see him. But the runway versus results tandem isn't going to be completely fair to everyone. It's not as cut and dry as maybe fans would like to think it is. It's not just, this is about the youth movement, so we need to play all the young players. It's also about trying to do both at the same time. And again, they're doing a nice job of that. The eight game win streak certainly helps. But what it's also doing is it's taking some of the pressure off of Nolan, Gorman, and Jordan Walker, who are struggling and continue to slump. And we haven't really seen any substantial changes offensively from either of them. But because the Cardinals are winning, we're not compounding on if Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman are going to figure it out. It's a focus. It's a concern. Sure, absolutely. But it buys them more time to figure this out. And they are the two designated faces of this runway movement, whether they asked to be or not. We've talked about this before. So with the Cardinals winning ball games and having different players take strides forward, whether that's Victor Scott, whether it's Matthew Liberatore, go down the list, the two players that they need to see the most out of aren't doing that right now. And that is okay because they're winning without them, and it's buying them some additional time. Because if the Cardinals were, let's say, 4, 5, 6 games under 500, would Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman's runway still exist? And that, I think, is the bigger problem if you're trying to do runway burst results and all of a sudden the results are overpowering what priority number one should be, which is the runway. But I actually think the Cardinals have done a really nice job of getting both. And it's cost them a couple losses, cost them a few in April. But they more or less stuck to their plan of the players they identified early on and getting them consistent playing time. No, it's not exactly fair because JC and McGreevy and take your pick aren't here. It's not a full-fledged rebuild. It was never advertised to be. It was, here are the players we're giving playing time to. This is going to change a little bit now that Nolan Arenado is still here, but we're still emphasizing above all Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, Lars Nootbaar. And if some players in spring training seize the opportunity, we'll give them that chance as well. And that's what you're seeing with Scott and Liberator. The result, 8 straight wins, 3 games over 500, and the Cardinals fully back in the mix in the NL Central.
Yeah, and to your point, just to I'm probably saying the same thing, and that's okay. I'll be quick about it. See, this winning streak, in 8 in a row, 10 out of 12. That's the timing couldn't be better, because in addition, they needed to start winning, and they needed to start winning on the road. This gives them cover. It gives them time, because there's so many good things happening with the team right now that I'm not in any way suggesting that people are not paying attention to Walker and Gorman, because of course fans are. Of course we in the media are. But there's some other issues that have kind of, come to the forefront about like, wow, that's better than I thought it would be. Wow, this is better than I thought it'd be. Wow, this player's better than I thought it'd be. Wow, look at how they fixed the bullpen. I thought the bullpen was going to be their downfall, right? And so there's so many positives that, to your point, there's not as much external pressure, probably even internal pressure, to like make a move real soon with one
Correct.
or both of these guys, so they can ride it out a little bit. I mean, I do see some signs, but I know, it comes down to what you actually do. But I see some signs that could lead to better days for both of those guys, but nobody wants to hear that. But I do see some signs. I look for all kinds of stuff.
One more thing on Walker and Gorman, and I thought this was important because eventually the Cardinals are going to have to make a decision about one or both of those players if they're not seeing any change. And it doesn't have to be a dramatic change. The Cardinals are not asking Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman to be superstars. They need to see incremental changes that show that a consistent adaptability can take place as these two young guys try to figure it out, right? So when I asked Mo, like, how are you evaluating Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman? And I thought this was such a telling answer. It's lengthy, bear with me, but I think it's important to reiterate. Mo said it's an important year for both. You only get so many chances this year. That's not to say that because of their ages, they won't get more, but ultimately trying to have personal success as well as team success is always the needle you're trying to thread. We are trying to win out here. We did state we're going to be patient, and so we are. But there are some strategic things that these young men need to be doing to start showing they're making those changes. We can't continue to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome. Yes, they are going to be given a long opportunity to try to get themselves where they need to be, but it's not infinite. And that is as clear as day. We're going to keep running them out there. We're going to give them as many chances as they can to succeed. But if we're not seeing changes and they keep repeating the same things over and over again, no consistent contact from Gorman, not laying off the slider low and away from Jordan, those things keep happening, then we're going to make a decision because we've given them the runway. Now, that runway is not running out anytime soon. To your point, right. I don't think they feel any kind of internal pressure because they're winning games. And I think Ollie Marmol's been really encouraged by Jordan's mentality and the way Gorman's been going about his work with hitting coach Brant Brown. So we're not looking at any pending moves right now. They're going to use this runway. But if after the next 6 weeks or so, I'm not saying it's going to be 6 weeks, I'm just throwing out a number, we're still talking about the same thing, then there might be some changes. But right now, the Cardinals can do both.
Yeah, you look at a month from now, 6 weeks from now, which is your reference, 6 weeks, it seems about right. But a lot of it has to do with how the team's doing as well. If the offense craters and all of a sudden they're really scrounging and they're losing, they're still pitching well, but they're losing, games 4-2 all the time or whatever. Yeah, there might be more urgency to do something. And I know they have I know that they could slot some people in and make it work. But I'm not in any way, no way whatsoever, ticked off that they're sticking with these guys through this, because number one, that's what they told us they would do.
Yep.
And so I have no idea why any person who paid any attention whatsoever is surprised by this or like revolted by this. Now, if we get into late June and it's still happening, and Ali Marmola said it, John Mozeliak told you, the runway, it doesn't extend forever. It is a limit. You do run out of runway. So I think the conditions in the standings and just the way they're playing and whether their pitching can still win games for them, even if the offense isn't going great for a series, I think all those things will be factored in. But also, listen, those two guys have to show some progress. They just have to. We're not asking them to be all-stars, but they have to show some progress. So this is going to be a story, no matter how well they're playing. I mean, these two guys will always be a story because they were the brothers. They're the Runway brothers of 2025. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, they're the faces of the season, and they never asked to be, but this is where we are. So Cardinals fans, if you're looking for a question or an answer on what the Cardinals are going to do, whether it's with Jordan Walker and Nolan Gorman, the trade deadline, are they good? Are they bad? Are they right in the middle? Guess what? We don't have an answer for you.
No.
And this is going to be an exciting Cardinal season because I don't think it's going to be very predictable at all. And we are 1,000% going to ride it together. But over the last 8 days, I think it's been pretty enjoyable. Bernie, anything else stand out to you about the Washington series?
No, I thought all phases of the game were really good. And the thing that jumped out at me, and again, and it's nothing new, but I think we should reiterate it a lot, which is this team takes the quality of their bats is so much better than what we saw last year and in 2023. It's just, and listen, not every game is going to be like that, but those were 3 games where they just put together great at bats. And, you could see Nationals pitcher, the starting pitchers trying to get him to chase. And they were like, nope, we're not going to do that. Boom. Just mentally, they seem really locked in about what they have to do. And all the stuff that Brent Brown is stressing, they're applying it. And that is a really, really positive indicator for the Cardinals. Because you figure by now, maybe some guys will be tuning Brent Brown out. I don't know. That's happened around here a lot. Mm-hmm. But they all seem to be really, really right there with him and everything he's trying to do.
And to contrast that, it's a great point about the quality of at-bats because on the other side of the diamond, the Nationals at-bats were dreadful. Eric Fetty, he was dominant, but Eric Fetty had 1 3-ball count in 9 innings. And then come out there, same approach against Palante. Early counts, 1-2, 0-2. And just not really kind of having any kind of pitch selection, and then get their weak ground balls. And it was like a really uninspiring performance from the Nationals for 3 days. I think that really, to me, showed how impactful the quality of at-bats from the Cardinals side were because the Nationals, I was getting annoyed. I was like, do I need to step down there and teach these guys how to work a count? I don't know.
No, and Dave Martinez kind of went off on his team after Saturday's game, and it wasn't better today.
It was not.
Again, and that was like a made-to-order opponent for Miles Michaelis. Yeah, it really was.
A lefty-heavy lineup. There's some fun there. James Wood is a dude. C.J. Abrams is a dude. I get it.
But he didn't have to throw. Because his focus has been. I don't have to throw as many strikes, and I know he's been working on that. But the wonderful thing about the Nationals, their bats are so bad is that, no, he didn't have to throw them many strikes because they'd get themselves out. And he's got enough of that trickery to make that happen. So, listen, we bid on him so much, too. I'm actually happy for the guy. I have no reason to hate on him. He wants to do well. You could tell he's really happy. You're around him. I think he feels like he's really, as TLR would say, putting his piece in. He's putting his piece in, right? He's not along for the ride. He's worked
really hard, and I get it because again, Cardinals fans want Michael McGreevy in there, and in the eyes of the fans, I get it. The logical thing would to just get rid of Miles and put McGreevy in there. We know that's not going to happen, or why it didn't happen. Like credit to Miles since that Boston debacle, he's been very effective for his limit, and we talked about it after the game. He said my fastball command is better. I've really been putting in like a different kind of approach. And his mentality is there. Look, he didn't want to go out there and suck, and he put in the work, and he knew what was being said about him. And when he was on the podcast earlier in the season, and I think was really candid about the struggles and the challenges of adapting so late in your career. And he did a really nice job. He's done a really nice job for the last month or so. So I'm with you, Bernie.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty simple guy as a writer and a commentator. Is it because people will say, "Well, you're kind of flip flopping on him"? No, I'm not. When he's bad, he's really, really bad, and he hasn't been really good for a long time up until recently. I'm going to write that he's bad, and it's a damn shame that he's blocking someone like McGreevy. But if the guy starts to pitch better, what? I'm going to be like a petulant child in the corner? No. Yeah, and just like stick to it. No, he stinks. He stinks.
Right. No, you guys are allowed to do that. Brady, we gotta be better than that.
My motto has always been, I got to remind fans all the time, and a lot of fans have been following me for a long time. I've heard it a million times. Praise when warranted, criticize when warranted. If you stick to that code, you're fine. But just because you take a stand, you're saying a guy stinks, right? And then when he doesn't stink and he's doing really well, you don't deny him the credit for that.
Right.
You know? So someone should make me a judge.
I think so.
Your Honor, I'm ready. I'm ready. So anyway.
All right. We got one city down, 2 to go. I'm in Philadelphia right now. I've never been to Philly before. This is my last National League city, and I think I only have 5 ballparks left. So I'm super excited.
They're hot, and the Cardinals are hot. It ought to be a great series.
It's going to be a great series. And you have the 2 pitchers that you want. 3 really coming with Betty coming off such a good start. But I would love to see what Matthew Liberatore looks like pitching in a hostile environment such as Citizens Bank Park against a really potent offense. That's a different Phillies team than what the Cardinals saw in April. And I think the Cardinals are a different team than what the Phillies saw in April. I'm really excited for that matchup. I cannot wait to see how Libby does.
One final thought. It's a question for you, and I know I'm extending this longer than you want because you got to get this in. But please tell me that you took the Amtrak to Philly from DC.
Yeah, that's where I filed my story.
All right.
A bunch of the Cardinals did too. We were talking after the game, and there was like 8 of them. They're like, Katie, you got to get on the 520. It's like 440. I was like, gentlemen, you can leave. Some of us, I do have a job. I have to write. They're like, no, get on the 520. Get on the 520. I did not make the 520. Not even close. I made the 7.
Yeah. When I moved to St. Louis, I mean, I love St. Louis so much, and people say, "What, miss anything?" The only 2 things I missed, and it's nothing against St. Louis. I mean, it's geography more than anything. I miss not having an ocean like about a 80-minute drive from where I lived, you know. And I missed train travel because I had assignments all up and down the East Coast, and it's just and the train station in Baltimore was like about 4 blocks from my house. I loved it.
I love public transportation, and I love taking the train. So I was really excited. We have a ton of train trips too. We have San Diego to LA. We have Milwaukee to Chicago. That's a great one. I'll take the train to Chicago every now and then just because it's a 45-minute flight, but I get a lot of work done on those train trips. So
it's really cool. All right, I'm glad to hear that. I'm not surprised, but I had to just check. I'm a
savvy traveler, and I had a travel voucher anyway, so it was free, and my company loved that.
Don't they always, right?
Right.
Well, you have a great week. We'll be reading you, of course, at The Athletic, following you on Twitter, all that good stuff.
Thanks, Bernie.
Always a pleasure to be with you.
I know. It was really fun, and I can't wait to set a personal record for cheesesteaks consumed in a 3-day period. Set the over at 5.5. Stay tuned.
You got to give us a review next week. You got to next time we do this, like what your favorite one was or something.
I'll be very prepared.
All right.
Well,
you take care.
For Bernie, I'm Katie. This is Cardinal Territory. Enjoy the ride, Cardinals fans. 8 straight wins. That is something to be excited about. We will talk to you next week.